Winning in solo queue can feel impossible. There are so many factors outside of your control, but one way to make your climb easier is by just abusing the most OP champs of the patch. So today, I'm going to give you the 6 strongest mid lane picks that you need to play to win more games. Now, the most broken champion of the patch is definitely Mel. Her Q and W are absolutely not balanced, so until those two abilities get nerfed, she will remain in S tier. If you look at her W, it makes her basically invulnerable for 1 second, and it also reflects the projectiles, and they do a bunch of damage, and you get a move speed boost. So this is a way for you to get out of base faster. This is a way for you to dodge skill shots, and then whatever you are not able to dodge, you can actually, you're invulnerable anyway for 1 second. So just too much power in this one ability. If you think about any other spell shield in the game, like Silver Spell Shield, what does it do? It gives you a bit of health back, and it blocks one ability. Cool. This thing blocks every ability, right? Does damage to the opponent from projectiles, reflected, and gives you move speed. So that's 3 things in a spell shield. Shouldn't be like that. They either need to remove, for example, the move speed completely, and then it'll be a bit more balanced, or they need to change the invulnerability to be less, or they need to change it like, Jax E, where let's say it blocks 100% of magic damage, but maybe it only blocks 50% physical damage. So now when Zed ults you, you can't just use your basic ability to block 3 of Zed's spells at the same time. Like that's a bit silly. So yeah, her W makes her very OP. Her Q is also very overpowered because it's an ability that can guaranteed proc Comet, Scorch, Mana Flow Band every time it's up. It's also very low cooldown. If you think about other abilities that are sort of undodgeable level 1 and can give you all those rune procs, I'm thinking like Xerath W, right? Xerath W has kind of the same usage, but the thing is Xerath W is 14 seconds cooldown, whereas Mel Q is only 10. So it's up way more often. You can't really be punished when you're on cooldown because, most champion spells level 1 are like 6, 7, 8 seconds. So it's a very short window for you to be punished. And it's kind of like just free harass every single time. So if you don't already play Mel, I would suggest that you start playing her now. Just keep in mind that she is getting a couple of nerfs next patch. It's more like adjustments. I really like the direction that Riot is taking with the Mel nerfs. They're nerfing her Q, which is obnoxious, right? It needs a nerf. Great. They're nerfing her W, which is fantastic. The 0.25 seconds less invulnerability, which is really, really important, extra damage on the reflection, and then making it a little bit more expensive to cast at the earlier levels. So absolutely love the nerfs. This will make her more balanced. And they're also nerfing the root from her E, which again is very, very good because 1.75 for a level 1 spell is kind of insane. If you think at things like the Rise, the Rise root, like you at least need to cast 2 abilities to get the Rise root to get that kind of duration. So yeah, I think that's a great change to the E as well. And they're giving her some compensation buffs. So it's not all doom and gloom. She's getting some compensation buffs, 10% ability power on her E damage, and also 1% on her R per stack AP ratio. So it's not a complete nerf for Mel. They're just shifting the strength away from the obnoxious parts of her kit towards the sort of underused, undervalued, underappreciated things like the E damage and the R damage. So I think that she will absolutely still be strong next patch, but these changes should hopefully make her feel less oppressive in lane, make her banned less often, and let everybody, play the champion more. So good time to start playing Mel. She's OP now. She'll still be OP next patch. So learn her if you haven't already. Viktor, ever since the rework, has just been broken. Why is Viktor broken? What makes him overpowered? Well, it's just this ability, guys. It really is just his Q. The fact that his Q does a base 200 damage level 1, right? So it does 60 plus 80 plus a big AP ratio. So say it does about 100, 140, 150 damage level 1 from just the Q cost, right? On top of that, you also have the shield, the 40 shield as well. So you're looking at an ability that does almost 200 damage level 1 worth of HP damage and also HP blocked. So that's just there's no other champion in mid that can contest Viktor level 1. If you add onto that a guaranteed shield bash proc, if you add onto that bone plating, scorch, mana flow, airy, all these things, Viktor is just the strongest mage. He can shad you before the lane even starts. And of course, he's one of the best wave clear champs as well. His E is so much easier to get now because the cannons give you double of the Glorious Evolution stacks. So it's very, very easy to get to your E-Augment, and as soon as you get your E-Augment, Lost Chapter plus E-Augment, and you will one-shot the wave. I think even double Amp Tome, you will still one-shot the wave, and you won't really go because that's just one ability that you're casting. It'll be like 90 mana. You can one-shot the back minions, and the front ones will require a couple of autos. So that's kind of what makes Viktor overpowered, the fact that he gets to his one-shot wave spike before other mages, and he's very, very strong level 1. So even in the bad matchups, even against champions that might have kill pressure against Viktor later on, you can put these sort of assassin champions very far behind in the first couple of levels if you play correctly. And also into Mel, Viktor has a pretty decent matchup as well, because you can Q kind of reactively to when she Qs and block a lot of that obnoxious damage. And she can't really spell shield your laser, because Mel's rebuttal is a very long cooldown, 35 seconds, whereas Viktor laser is, even at the earlier levels, fairly low cooldown, like around 10 seconds, 9 seconds. You'll be spamming that on her and get a lot of harass. So I think Viktor, good matchup at the Mel, and just overall the best blind pick mage in the game right now. Next champion we have is Hwei. Now, it's very weird. The reason why Hwei is up here, I think, is because he's a great sort of early flex pick as well. You can lock in Hwei early. People don't know whether it's for Hwei mid, it's Hwei AD, it's Hwei supports. You're less likely to be countered. He's a great blind pick mid. And the reason why I would rate Hwei over Orianna or Syndra when it comes to playing against the strong mages like Viktor and Mel is that Hwei is longer range. Hwei is undoubtedly longer range than Ori and longer range than Syndra with his abilities. So you can neutralize the lane very, very well. And obviously, you're so versatile with the 9 different spellcasts that no matter what team comp you have, if your team comp wants to dive, cool, you can just go, QW from afar, kind of like a Kai'Sa, right? You can R from afar. You don't really need to get close and personal to do damage. I would always rather have a Hwei on my team with a dive comp rather than a Syndra. But if we're playing a front to back, then it doesn't really matter, right? It doesn't matter what kind of a mage mid you have. So I think Hwei is a little bit more versatile. And also the reason why I put him here is because next patch, Hwei is getting triple nerfed, which is kind of crazy. His passive's getting nerfed in a week. His WE is getting nerfed, which is a big change, because that's something you do spam in the lane, because it just gives you mana back, right? And a little bit of extra damage. And then his QW is getting a massive, massive 20 damage flat nerf as well. So this is in patch 25.4. So I reckon if you are a Hwei player, right now is a good time. Obviously, Riot isn't making these changes without seeing a whole lot of data to back them up. So Hwei must be a dominant mage right now. I thought he was just kind of good, but seeing these nerfs in the next patch makes me feel like, maybe there's something behind the scenes that we're not seeing that actually make Hwei really good. Maybe it's the Archon changes, maybe it's the feats, whatever, his shield and skirmishes. I don't know exactly what makes Hwei so good, but his win rate is very, very high. And he's getting a lot of nerfs, so if you want to play Hwei, now is the time. The next champion is Aurora. Now, Aurora is one of the big winners of this patch. She shifted away from taking Electrocute towards the Comet build, especially in pro play, especially in high elo. People were running the E max build with Comet for Aurora, just to try and help you survive against these champions that outrange you, like Ori, Hwei, Viktor, champions that she struggles in lane with, gives you a way to trade them with the Comet, but now you don't have to do that anymore. The new Electrocute changes are absolutely massive in this patch. 20 flat damage level 1, which is insane. That's a 40% buff to Electrocute in the patch. So I think on Aurora, you pretty much should just always go Electrocute now. Kind of just start Q level 1, and if you manage to walk up to Viktor and you go auto QQ, and he goes auto QQ, you'll probably walk away in kind of an even trade. Whereas before the patch, you'll lose that. So I think Aurora's priority has gone up. She was already a good champion because of the value of her ult around the objectives, and obviously there's a lot of new objectives. There's always an objective to fight over now with the addition of Atacon in season 15. So I think Aurora is just a great blind pick. She's also much better at punishing the assassins that are creeping back into the meta with the Electrocute changes, like the Kianas, the Talons, the Katarinas, the Akalis. If I'm playing Viktor, at a certain point, I'm very scared of dying, especially on side lanes, to these champions, and even in the laning phase. If you don't get a big enough advantage, you can struggle. But on Aurora, because your damage is just so overwhelming, you have so much single target damage, and you also have an escape, right? That's the other big thing, is Aurora has an escape. Hwei does not have an escape. Viktor does not have an escape. Yes, you have some spells to peel yourself with, but you don't actually have a dash. Aurora has, 2 dashes, or 3 or 4, depending how many times you use it in your ult, or I guess if you consider your E as a dash as well. So Aurora, much better against assassins, totally fine into these mages. You just have to bide your time and get that winning team fight for your team. Sylas, I'm putting Sylas up here because, well, all of these ults are insanely good for Sylas. Right now, all the meta champions have really good ults for Sylas. And of course, Sylas is a big lover of the electrocute. I would say any champion that has an ability that procs twice level 1, right? So that you only need 1 auto plus 2 cast of your level 1 ability to get that electrocute proc is really, really good this patch. So, that's Aurora Q, that is Sylas E as well. Very, very easy to proc electrocute, and you can pretty much just tank minions now because the damage is so overwhelming. You can just run electrocute every game on Sylas and just dash mindlessly into people, and just if you land a double dash, as long as your electrocute is not on cooldown, you will win that trade in any sort of matchup. Galio. The reason why Galio is here, I know that some of you might say, well, look, Galio actually got nerfed this patch. He lost 32 health. Look, 32 health, it's not a big deal. What is a big deal is the change that they did to Galio E. You can now E flash on Galio. You can reposition your E stun with flash, which is absolutely massive. That hasn't been in the game for years because, Riot thought it would make the champion too strong. I would make him overpowered. So that's kind of the reason why they did this nerf. They did this nerf, and then they didn't write anything in the patch notes. We had to wait for people to post clips to figure out that the E change actually happened, right? That mechanic is in the game now. But I think that this makes Galio just really, really OP in early skirmishes. The fact that you can't really dodge Galio E, because even if you try to flash it, he can follow you with his flash. So yeah, just a really good champ against mages. The top 5 champions are all AP mages, so Galio loves that. He can absolutely survive laning phase against even the bullies, the Auroras, the Victors, the Mel's of the world. He will totally be fine. You rush Holy Radiance, still kind of the best tank item in the game. Still not getting nerfed in the next patch either. A lot of tank items are getting nerfed in the next patch. You can see Abyssal, Thimblewinter, Heartsteel, Plated Steel Caps, Unending Despair. All these items are getting nerfed, but Galio's favorite Holy Radiance is not being touched. Galio's Riftmaker is not being touched. So Galio is a great champion to pick up now. He's going to be, in the meta for the next couple of weeks at least, for the next month maybe. So it's definitely worth putting time into him. Now, A-tier champs are just either very good blinds or overpowered champs that cannot be blinded. So, for example, we have Ori, Syndra, Talia, Corki, all great blind picks. They will do fine into the long range, the OP long range mages. They can absolutely play the lane just fine into them and survive and get prio and play for objectives. Talia especially has gone up in priority because of the rise in prominence of 80 carries, hyper carries in the bot lane, right? The Kog'Maws, the Jinxes, with the attack speed cap removal. You see a lot more of those in the bot lane. So if you can play Talia, yes, you're not going to win lane against Viktor or Mel or Hwei, but you can push the wave and you can ult down a bot. And obviously these immobile mages will struggle to match your priority. Ori, Syndra, just the safest blinds in the game. I would say that because they don't have any reliable self-peel, obviously Syndra E is self-peel, but I'd say it's not as reliable as like Hwei. Hwei has also the same kind of fear ability on his EQ, but he also has the move speed with his W, right? And he has the slow with his QE, so he has a couple more options to survive ganks. So that's why I put Syndra here. Also, Hwei's a little bit longer range, and Ori obviously has no way to peel herself at all. But the other champions on this list, like LeBlanc, Zoe, Vex, Ahri, these champs have gone up in priority because of the electrocute buffs. They all benefit from it, but they still stylistically lose to the longer range mages. You will struggle in lane if you're playing, LeBlanc, or you're playing Vex, or you're playing even Ahri against Viktor. You will lose the lane. Kind of adds the pressure. Find roams, find timers to look bot lane to snowball the game elsewhere. But again, with the introduction of hyper carries, these kind of electrocute push and roam champs have become much, much stronger. Now, Akshan is probably the best AD blind, kind of in line with Corki. I would say that Akshan is a lot harder to play than Corki, but you can absolutely blind Akshan and do the Static Shiv Collector, IE builds that's been in the game for a while with the Emax. He's very obnoxious. He one-shots the wave. He can match these kind of champions. So it's just if you have an AP jungler or you have, AP top, AP bot, whatever you have, if you need an AD mid, Akshan or Corki are both pretty good choices. Now next we have the Battle Mages, Cassio and Ryze. These are not good blind picks either because of how short range they are, but they're excellent if you see some of the blind assassins like Talon, Kiana, Katarina, Akali. Basically impossible for you to die if you have Archangels plus Rod of Ages. You're a tank, right? You're a tank. You can't be killed by assassins. But also they're pretty good into the short range mids like Aurora, Sylas, Galio. If you see these champs being blind picked, you can also go for Casio, Rise, you kind of outscale them because you will become tanky and you'll do more damage than them in the late game. So you kind of just have to survive the early game, match their roams, and you'll come out on top. And the last honorable mention are the Electrocute Assassins, the ones that have benefited the most from the recent changes. Qiyana, Talon, your best two AD options. They're very, very safe, very hard to gank, both of these champs, especially once you get 6 on Talon, but even early game, once you have your wall hop, can really escape any gank. Same thing with Qiyana, you just take the stealth, you're chilling. They both have reasonable wave clear. And I think the reason why I put these two champs above Zed, for example, is that Talon and Qiyana are a lot more useful pre-6 than Zed is, right? Like, I feel like Talon and Qiyana can just guaranteed burst someone. And even if they can't burst someone, they can leave with their escape. Whereas with Zed, you kind of have to commit your exit strategy to burst someone, which makes them a lot easier to punish. Katarina and Nikali, I think, are the best two AP assassins. Now, I wouldn't consider Sylas an AP assassin because I think Sylas can play both the tanky frontline Conqueror style and the one-shot, Lichbane sort of electrocute build. So Sylas is more versatile. That's why he's up here. But in the same way, the electrocute buffs have helped Akali and Katarina. And if you see any immobile mid-mages like Orianna, Talia, Syndra, whatever it is, as long as you're not playing against anti-melee champs like Rise, Casio, Vex, even Galio, as long as you play against the squishy mid laner, you can absolutely go for these assassins, and they're very, very strong right now. And the B tier is just champions that I would suggest only playing if you're a one trick, because they're not that strong. They don't really benefit from the rune changes or the recent buffs. They're just kind of there. This might change in the next patch, but all these champs are absolutely viable. So if you want to play them, you can. And C tier, I would recommend to stay away from them. They're just not strong in the meta. They either take way too long to get online, like Smolder, like Kassadin, like Zeri, or they cannot lane. They cannot lane into the strong mage bullies. They don't have the wave clear, like, Trindamirs, Pantheons, or they're too one-dimensional. They have like kind of a one and done strategy like Annie or Malzahar. Somebody builds QSS, you're done on Malzahar. Somebody buys Merc Treads, you're done on Annie. Just these champions are not that good in Season 15. I would suggest sticking to S, A, or B tier. And if you're looking to pick up a new champion, just probably play Mel. Mel or Viktor would be my suggestion. Mel, Viktor, maybe Aurora as well. I think Aurora is also here to stay, and probably the biggest benefactor of this electrocute change, because she's blindable as a ranged champion, and also it's very easy for her to proc this level 1, where it's the biggest increase. Now, those are just my thoughts on the power level of each mid laner in the game. If you disagree with something, if you have another suggestion, maybe something I missed, leave a comment. Give me an explanation why you think something is worse or better than what I put on this list. I would really love to know. Otherwise, I'll see you guys in the next video.